You have scrubbed it, you have painted over it, you have spent $180 on a commercial spray that smelled like a hospital corridor, and within 3 weeks, the black edge crept back along the same grout line, the same corner above the window, the same strip behind the sink. 1 cup of plain white vinegar from your kitchen kills those surface spores more completely than that spray ever did. And I want to show you why that spray keeps failing before we talk about the fix. There are 3 things I want to show you. A kitchen ingredient that costs $3 and kills surface spores more completely than any commercial spray you have ever bought. A material used in East Asian homes for centuries that pulls moisture directly out of your indoor air for up to 3 years without electricity or filters. And a 10-minute morning habit that costs nothing and locks every other result in place. Total budget for all of it, around $30. And none of it will bleach your paint, leave a residue on your walls, or put anything in your air you would not want your children breathing. I grew up in a house in rural Nagano where the walls were old and the winters were wet. Mold was not a recurring problem in that house, not because of any spray, because of what the walls were made of, how the rooms were ventilated, and 3 habits my father and my grandfather followed so automatically they would not have called them habits at all. They would have called it the way you take care of a house. I have lived in the United States for over 30 years, and I have watched American homeowners spend more money on mold remediation than my father spent on his entire house in a decade. I want to show you what he knew. Now, the real reason mold keeps coming back, and it is not the one the label on the spray bottle points to. Mold is not primarily a cleaning problem. It is a moisture problem, but not in the way the label on the spray bottle implies. You can kill every visible spore on a wall surface today and have a full colony back within 3 weeks. That is not a failure of the product, that is a failure of the surface. Most interior walls in American homes are covered with latex or acrylic paint. Both form a vapor barrier, a film that blocks moisture from moving through the wall material in either direction. What that means in practice is this: warm, humid air from your kitchen, your bathroom, your breathing, contacts the cool wall surface and condenses into moisture that cannot escape. It sits behind the paint film. The wall material stays damp, and mold recolonizes because the condition that produced it never changed. You cleaned the surface. You left the environment intact. This is why every mold spray on the market has a recurrence problem. It is treating a symptom at the surface while the root cause, trapped moisture behind an impermeable film, goes untouched. Week, on this channel, 1 honest fix for your home and your yard, 30 years of methods, tested by hand, nothing sold to you. If that is useful to you, subscribe, and the next one will find you. Now the first fix. The $3 one. Take a standard bottle of white distilled vinegar from any grocery store. Not cleaning vinegar, not apple cider vinegar, plain white distilled, the kind that costs $3 or less. Professionality, do not dilute it. Pour roughly 1 cup into a spray bottle and apply it directly to the mold-affected surface. Let it sit for 1 hour without wiping. Then wipe once with a clean cloth and let the surface air dry completely. White distilled vinegar has an acidity level of approximately pH 2.5. At that pH, the protein structures that make up mold spores break down and stop functioning. The spores on that surface are not suppressed. They are killed. In practice, undiluted white vinegar is effective against a number of the mold species most commonly found in homes, though not every species responds to it the same way. It works well on common surface molds, less reliably on some of the tougher ones. Here is why it does not damage your paint. Vinegar evaporates completely. It leaves no residue, no film, no active chemistry behind on the surface. Bleach-based commercial sprays work differently. They leave an alkaline residue that continues reacting with the surface after application, which is part of what causes discoloration on painted walls and grout. Vinegar leaves nothing. The surface after treatment is chemically identical to the surface before, except the spores are dead. The cost comparison is straightforward. A $3 bottle of white vinegar treats the same surface area as a $180 commercial remediation spray. The kill rate on common surface spores is comparable. The difference is what each one does to the surrounding surface and air. One leaves nothing behind, the other leaves a residue on your wall and a chemical odor in your air for the better part of a day. Honestly, just skip it. Walk away. Now, the vinegar handles what is on the surface, but the air around that wall stays humid, and new spores from the ambient air will recolonize a clean surface within days if the moisture condition is unchanged. That is the second problem. And the second fix is one most American homeowners have never heard of. Bamboo-activated charcoal has been used as a structural moisture management material across East Asian building traditions for centuries. My father called it taksumi, charcoal made for the house rather than the grill. It is produced in a kiln at very high heat, which creates a carbon structure with an enormous number of microscopic internal pores. Those pores are highly hygroscopic, meaning they attract and hold water molecules from the surrounding air. A single standard bag, typically around 200 grams, can absorb up to half a liter of water out of the ambient air over its active life. In practical terms, a bag placed in a small room can measurably lower the ambient humidity over time, though the exact amount depends on the room size and how damp the air already is. One bag, placed correctly, functions continuously for up to 3 years before it needs to be replaced or recharged. Recharged meaning set in direct sunlight for a full day. The heat drives the trapped moisture out of the pores and the bag reactivates. That is the entire maintenance requirement. A standard charcoal bag runs $10 to $25 depending on size. An electric dehumidifier covering the same square footage costs $80 or more to purchase, then draws continuous power. The charcoal bag draws nothing. It sits on a shelf or hangs from a cabinet hinge and works silently for 3 years. Place one bag in each room where you have moisture problems. Near the baseboard along exterior walls, inside a bathroom cabinet, in the corner of a basement. The bag does not need to be at the moisture source. It needs to be in the ambient air of the space. What you are doing is lowering the overall humidity level of the room, so that the wall surface behind your treatment dries more completely and stays drier between ventilation events. That is the air handled, now the walls themselves, and because this is where the lasting fix lives. My father and my grandfather, in the same house in Nagano, maintained the same interior wall surfaces in the same rooms for as long as anyone in the family could remember. There was no mold problem that persisted longer than a single season. The walls in that house were treated with a material that no one in the American home improvement market talks about, not because it is obscure. Because it is inexpensive, it requires no professional application, and once it is on a wall, it does not need to be reapplied for years. My father applied it himself. I have applied it in this house. The result is the same. Limewash. Limewash is a water-based surface treatment made from calcium hydroxide, slaked lime mixed with water and sometimes natural pigment. It has been applied to interior and exterior building surfaces for centuries across Europe, across East Asia, and in most of the ancient building world. The reason it survived that long is not because it is beautiful, although it is because of what it does chemically and structurally. What I want you to do this week in the comments below is tell me the room in your house where mold keeps coming back no matter what you do. Bathroom, basement, bedroom corner, kitchen wall. Tell me the room. I read every one. Calcium hydroxide has a pH of approximately 12.4. Mold spores require a pH range between roughly 3 and 7 to germinate and colonize. pH 12.4, the germination chemistry is disrupted entirely. A lime-washed wall surface is antifungal at the material level, not at the residue level. There is no active chemical that depletes over time. The wall surface itself is hostile to mold. One safety note before you start: the same alkalinity that kills mold spores can burn skin and cause serious eye injury. Wear rubber gloves and sealed safety goggles the entire time you mix or apply it, and keep the dry powder and the wet mixture off bare skin. If it contacts your eyes, flush with water for 15 minutes and call a doctor. Open a window while you work, and keep children and pets out of the room until the wall is fully dry. The second property is equally important. Unlike latex or acrylic paint, Limewash is microporous. It does not form a vapor barrier. Moisture vapor passes through a limewashed surface, evaporates, and the wall stays dry. The trapped moisture cycle that feeds mold behind sealed paint surfaces does not occur. The wall breathes the way old masonry and plaster walls were designed to breathe before synthetic coatings existed. This is the part worth sitting with. American homes have been applying vapor-impermeable coatings to interior walls for decades, then wondering why mold returns after every cleaning. The coating is the mechanism. You are sealing moisture in and calling the result a mold problem. It is a coating problem. A DIY Limewash treatment for a standard bathroom wall runs $10 to $40 in materials. A bag of hydrated lime from a building supply store costs approximately $12 and treats considerably more wall surface than most homeowners need for a single project. Pre-mixed Limewash paint is available from specialty suppliers for $25 to $40 per liter for those who prefer a ready-made option. Application requires a wide brush, one coat, allowed to cure for 24 hours. If you apply it over an existing painted surface, clean and dry the surface first. Limewash adheres to most mineral and paint surfaces directly. Within 4 days of application on a previously mold-affected surface, the musty smell, which is the off-gassing of active mold colonies, is gone. Not masked, gone. Because the colony is not viable at that surface pH. One honest limitation: Limewash does not bond to glossy or fully sealed paint with the same durability as it does to porous or matte surfaces. On a high-gloss bathroom paint, it may require a bonding primer first. On bare plaster, raw masonry, or flat finish paint, it adheres directly and lasts for years without reapplication. Now, I have to be honest with you about what this system will not do. It will not fix active water intrusion, a leaking pipe, a cracked foundation, water coming in from outside. If water is entering the wall from a structural source, no surface treatment and no charcoal bag will hold. You address the water source first. What this system fixes is the moisture that lives in your air and your wall surfaces. The condensation cycle, the humidity trap, the slow damp that no spray has ever been able to reach. That is the problem most American homeowners actually have. Now, the morning habit. 1. Every morning for 10 minutes, open 2 opposing windows or 2 openings that allow air to move through the interior space. Not a single window on one side of the room, 2 openings on opposing sides that create a cross-flow. The direction does not matter. The principle is air exchange, moving the overnight accumulation of indoor humidity out of the space and replacing it with lower humidity outdoor air. Overnight, a closed interior room accumulates moisture from breathing, from temperature differentials, from the slow off-gassing of materials. Mold spore germination is most active in still, humid, stagnant air. 10-minute cross-ventilation window disrupts that cycle. The charcoal bag maintains lower ambient humidity through the day. The Limewash wall surface does not retain the moisture that does contact it. The system prevents the condition, not just the symptom. Yuki, my wife, still cracks the same 2 windows in this house every morning, using the same brass hook by the frame she has used for years to prop them open. I have learned not to argue. Here is the sequence, because order matters. First, treat the affected surface with undiluted white vinegar. 1 cup in a spray bottle, applied generously, 1 hour of contact time, wipe and allow to dry completely. Day 1. The spore colony on the surface is gone. Second, within 2 to 3 days, apply the Limewash treatment to the cleaned surface. Wearing gloves and goggles, allow it to cure for 24 hours before the room is used normally. The surface is now chemically hostile to recolonization. Third, place a bamboo charcoal bag in the room, near the baseboard on the most affected wall. Recharge it in direct sunlight once every 2 months. Fourth, begin the morning ventilation habit. 10 minutes, 2 openings, daily through the damp seasons. Total cost, the vinegar is $3. The charcoal bag is $10 to $25. The Limewash materials are $12 to $40 depending on whether you use raw hydrated lime or a premixed product. The morning habit costs nothing. You are at roughly $25 to $68 all in. For a complete system, if the musty smell in the treated room is gone within 4 days, the colony has been broken at the spore level, not just cleaned at the surface. That is your benchmark. That is how you know the system is working. The $180 spray treated a symptom. What you just built treats the condition. That is the result you want. If you want to go further, the wall material under that paint and what to do when the substrate itself is compromised, that is the next step.